Hi there, it's Linda Anderson from Linda Lou Creates. Thanks for joining me today. Hey, I wanted to just share with you a couple creations I made pairing up a background stamp, this one stacked stone, with an awesome bundle out of the new holiday catalog, mini catalog, and Love of Leaves. The bundle is the stamp set and the set of dies. Now you'll see these crazy dies that I've put together. It actually comes as two pieces. So it is these stitched leaves. We'll cut out the leaf and then you can add the veins and it will emboss the impression of the veins then as well. I'll go ahead and I set mine up and I just add a little bit of washi tape just to hold it in place, and that way when I run it through my die cutting machine I'm good to go. Alright, so I'm going to show you a couple of the ways that I've used these products. So here's the three cards I'm going to share with you. So let's get started. I'm going to start with this one here. And what I want to show you is, first up is the stamp, the stacked stone background stamp. This is the way I like to stamp using these large stamps. Now mind you, you could get a large acrylic block since this is the cling version of the stamp. You can also order it wood mounted, and that's the only option for wood mounting that's still available are the background stamps. I like to just use it this way, face up, and bring my ink pad down to it. Then I also like to grab my cardstock, and this is some crumb cake 4 by 5 1/4. I will just set it right down there carefully. Alright, and then just grab a scratch piece of paper. I happen to just get some from the printer, and I just start rubbing. Now, I've seen lots of versions of this in which people will grab an acrylic block, and you can certainly do that and rub over it. I find that just using my hands, I'm happy with the way it comes out. You can use a stamp positioning tool as well, like the Stamparatus, and that way if you would need to stamp it again, you would have that opportunity to do so. And here we go. I use Cajun Craze ink on that crumb cake cardstock, and just a different color on a light neutral cardstock like that. Love the effect. Love the effect, especially pairing it with the Love of Leaves stamp set. So what I'm going to do is just to break this up a little bit. It's kind of busy, so I just cut out a piece. This is out of the Subtles Designer Series paper, and this is the Pear Pizzazz. So 2 by 5 1/4. I'm just going to go ahead and just adhere it down to the left side. Like I said, I feel like it just needed a little something to break up the busyness of that pattern. So let me go ahead and do that. All right, and there it is. Now the rest of my supplies here, I have Cajun Craze for my card base, my top folding card. It is 11 by 4 1/4. There's a score line here at 5 1/2. Now I do have a piece already stamped and put on the inside of 5 1/4 by 4. It's very vanilla, and stamped it again using nothing but the Love of Leaves stamp set. So let me go ahead. Let's get this cardstock adhered down. It's fun to use background stamps and just try different techniques with them, or something as simple as changing up the color of the ink or the paper that you're going to use. You get so many different results from it. So the first card, like I said, I just wanted to share how it looks by having the different color of ink on it. So again, from the Love of Leaf stamp set, I used Early Espresso ink and the stitched shape dies using the oval. I also did layering oval dies in order to get my scallop, and that is out of Early Espresso. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that down with dimensionals, of course. So here's what I wanted to show you. Now here are it's a leaf that's cut out with those dies that I showed you, those stitched dies, and then putting in those veins that kind of do a little nice impression in there, and I just think it's fabulous. So I have one that I cut out using a piece from the brushed cardstock that's also in the Holiday Mini Catalog, and this is a piece of vellum cardstock, and I just put a little dab of glue down here just to adhere them together. I'm going to cover up that glue with a linen thread bow, so we'll get that taken care of. So I am just going to adhere it, whatever looks fun on here. Now I'm going to pop a couple dimensionals where I'm not thinking that the glue will be at. So let me just at least get one dimensional up here. I have a stack. I did somewhat clean my desk off, so hopefully I'll be able to find things. So as you can see, I put the glue on the wrong side, so let's get that fixed. And pop off my dimensional. And there we go. It's adhered right down onto that oval. I'm going to now, using a glue dot, I got 2 pieces of the linen thread and tied a bow with it. That's all this is. And let me go ahead and with a glue dot adhere this down, and I'm going to put it right there over top where, like I said, that my glue to adhere the 2 leaves together is showing through. I think I am going to cut my tails a little bit. One final thing. I adore these gold glitter enamel dots. They're flat, well, somewhat flat and smooth, making it nice and for them to go into through the mail. So let me go ahead and get my Picket tool, and I am going to, let's see, get these one here. There's also I was debating between these and the metallic pearls, because I do use those a lot. I love the metallic pearls. So that's an option too, if you would rather use that. All right, so here is card number 1, using that background stamp and a totally offbeat color of ink on it. So now, card number 2, I'm going to use the same color of ink. So a little tone on tone with that regards. So let me go through the supplies that I have here. My card base, again, Cajun Craze, top folding, 11, 4 1/4. And I again put the 4 by 5 1/4 piece of, this is Very Vanilla on the inside. I actually cut a second piece of Very Vanilla, and it is again 4 by 5 1/4. This is where I'm going to adhere to the front of the card. Now, I'm not going to stamp again, but because it's the same way, but I used, again, a piece of crumb cake, and I used crumb cake ink on this. So tone on tone, fabulous. So let me go ahead and adhere this down. This happens to measure 2 by 4. Now, I had started with a full piece that was 4 by 5 1/4, and then I just kind of cut it down to the size that I wanted. So either way, if you cut out the whole piece, then you could have a couple additional pieces then to put on cards, or just cut out a piece that's 2x4 and do it the same way that I did earlier with the Cajun Craze ink, and ink up in crumb cake ink this time. All right, a little bit of glue. Let me just make sure that that's why I like the glue, is I can wiggle this around a little bit before it completely dries. Now I have a piece of soft suede. This is just 1/4 of an inch wide. I just felt like it needed a little something else on it. So here's some soft suede, and I am just mushing it right up against the edge of the crumb cake just to have this fun little border. Now, here are my leaves that I actually stamped using the stamp set Love of Leaves. I inked them up in Bumblebee, Pear Pizzazz, and Soft Suede. Stamped them out. I love that look, that sort of distressed look, and it's not solid. I like that little bit of the vanilla showing through, and I cut them all out with the dies, and this is a great way of seeing what they look like with that veining in them. So now let me go ahead, and I'm going to get this built. So I have my leaves here. Now I prefer that the stems are not showing. You certainly can leave them on however you want that to be. So I am just cutting off the stems of those two. So let me go ahead, and you can see I did some stamping and ended up having to use the other side of it. So let's see if I can put the glue on the correct side this time. All right, so I am just going to adhere this down. Now let me let that just sort of dry for a moment while I show you what else. The sentiment, I thought of you today, again, just stamped on a piece of the Very Vanilla and then just trimmed down to size. All right, that's Cajun Craze ink, by the way. So this is going to go around here. I kind of sort of build my things a little backwards, I think, till I get it the way I like it. Sometimes I'll even build without adhering anything down and then take a picture with my phone. That way I won't forget how it was that it was like, ooh, I really like the way that layout arrangement is. And I can then refer back and be able to get it back again. So as you know, I love my dimensionals, so I want to make sure that nothing is going to sag on this arrangement of leaves here. So let me go ahead and get that into place. So I have some glue on my fingers, so I'm hoping that I won't stick to everything. Okay, so here we go. Things will be a little crooked here, and because that's the way it goes, right? So a little off center. I want to now, here's where I kind of take a look, see how I like it, and I do. I'm going to put it together just like that. So let me put a little bit of glue right here on the sentiment. Okay. There we go. And now I'm just going to pop a dimensional right here on the edge where that sentiment sticks off of the leaves, these two leaves. So this way it won't kind of fall down, so to speak. So let me go ahead here and here. And of course, I have another bow that I'm going to put on this. So it is somewhere around here. let's get the glue dot. I kind of roll it up on itself so it's nice and hidden behind the knot of my linen thread. And I am going to pop it right here on the leaf. Okay, now let's go ahead and get this adhered down. Here we go. Maybe. It seems like my glue is wanting to run out on me. So let me bring in the card base. Let me make sure that I'm putting it in the right direction. There we go. I am. This is the top. And here we go. And of course, I'm going to use some more of the gold glittery enamel dots. So let's go ahead and get them on. I like to do them in threes. So let's do that. And one more. And there it is. Card number 2, using tone on tone for the inking up of this background stamp this time. Okay, only using a portion of it too, not the whole 5 1/4 by 4 inches. Okay, the last one I have to share with you, I am using embossing this time on the background. So what we have here is the supplies. I have, again, the card base, Cajun Craze, 11 by 4 1/4. Here is the inside of the card with a piece of Very Vanilla that's 4 by 5 1/4. I have, this is what I wanted to show you. I was excited about this idea. This is again the brushed cardstock. This is more the like coppery kind of color. This is what you get after you die cut. You have that stitching on the outside. So this is what is called the negative image of the die. Here is the die cut itself. So I did one in gold, one in this copper color, and I'm going to mix them. All right, and then put them back in together. Now, this rectangle is from the Stitched Rectangle Shapes, and it is approximately 2 1/4 by 3 5/8. So I got a piece of Early Espresso, and I just went 1/4 of an inch bigger. So we're talking 2 1/2 by 3 7/8. All right. So let me just go ahead and get this adhered down. I'm just going to use some glue, see if I have one that's a little fuller than the other one. And I'm just going to go ahead and get this. Try and hit up a lot of those little pieces that are sticking out there. Okay. Now, there's a couple things you can do. I probably am out of screen because I'm working too close to myself and not where you can see it. Now, I could smear glue on this, or I could put the glue on here, however you prefer, all right? You could even use Scotch tape before adhering this rectangle down to the Early Espresso. You could have actually kind of taped these two pieces together. So, just like a puzzle, we're going to fit that back in there. And I'm going to get a acrylic block and put on top and push this off to the side here just so that can get a chance to adhere and dry. Okay, so let me get that out of the way, because next I want to show you is how I did the embossing. Some of you already probably know how to do embossing, but I wanted to share it and make sure that everyone does. The ink that I'm going to use is called Versamark. Versamark is a clear, sticky ink. It's great for, that could be used as a tone on tone if you don't have the actual ink color to coordinate with your cardstock. So it leaves, like I said, a nice watermark effect. So I'm just going to ink this up real good with this ink. With this Versamark The way I do it is going to be the same as far as inking this up, and then getting my cardstock. Again, it is crumb cake, and it is 4 by 5 1/4. I will set it down, get my scratch piece of paper out, and just start rubbing it. All right. Now, meantime, I'm going to have kind of close by is I'm actually going to use clear embossing powder with this. I just like the look of that. You could use white, you could use metallics, any of the above. That would be fantastic. And I just thought of sticking with white, or excuse me, with clear. Wow. So here we go. This is what it looks like before. This is what that watermark effect is. So let me get my scrap paper here, and I have a very old container of clear embossing powder. You can have embossing powder for a long time. You think you're wasting it here by watching me sprinkle all of this powder on, but we're going to actually funnel it all right back into the container here, so there will be no waste, and it hardly uses any to fill in. So I don't know if you can see the powder on there now, but that's the clear embossing powder on. I like to tap it a little bit just to make sure that I don't have any stray flecks hanging around. Now, the fact that the cardstock or rather the stamp comes all the way to the edge of the cardstock, it's going to be a little tricky to not touch it, so but do your best. So as you can see, I'm just going to funnel this back in, and now I'm ready to use it the next time. All right, so let me just put the lid on that before I spill it over. Okay, I have my heat tool. I like to heat it up, let it warm up for a little bit, so it's going to get a little loud. I want to grab onto my cardstock here. And one thing, the heat tool has to be a specific tool for embossing. It cannot be a hairdryer. A hairdryer would not get hot enough to melt this powder. Now, I'm going to try and let you see how it's going to change as it melts. So, let's see if I can get it in the camera. So you will do this all along here, getting that to melt, being careful of your fingers because it does get very, very hot. Now, it also, just to give you a heads up, it does warp your paper a little bit. So, I know some people will then also heat from the opposite side just to try and straighten it out. I like to just go so far until I can't take it anymore, and then I will switch it around and start melting it on this side. All right, once I get it all done, this isn't done, but I do have one that is done. You will have this awesome, shiny, slightly raised, embossed background. Isn't that cool? I think that's awesome. And it's so much fun watching it melt. That's just sort of the change that it goes through that is just, it's fun. So, okay. I bet you can't guess what my card base is. If you said Cajun Craze, that's 11 by 4 1/4, you're right. And on the inside, again, that 4 by 5 1/4 piece of Very Vanilla. So I'm going to go ahead. One thing I recommend, though, whenever you've done embossing, heat embossing especially, is please don't be afraid to use adhesive. Okay, remember it warped a little bit, so you want to make sure that this is going to lay good and flat for you. All right, so let me go ahead and pop that down. Now I'm going to get my focal image here, this awesome leaf, and let me pop on some dimensionals. And this is what I like to do. Once you use up your dimensionals, the actual dimensionals, I like to hit up and use then the ends. So by the time I'm done, there is nothing left on this sheet of paper that the dimensionals have come on. So, all right. So let me try this side. This is actually awesome because then it's not a whole bunch of dimensionals. It's just a couple pieces of the edges and you're good. All right, and one more here. Okay, let's get this put down now. My sentiment, I don't know if you can see that here. I just used, again, Cajun Craze ink, the Love of Leaves stamp set, and then I used a circle, the layering circles dies, to cut that out. And, all right, so here we go. Let's get our focal image down. Okay, now I think I want to put this, you know what, I do like it over here on the right side for some reason. I'm going to go ahead and so put it wherever you like. And this time I'm going to only put one of my gold glitter dots on it, enamel dots right here, and it's hiding on me, there we go, my linen thread bow. So let's pop that on. So a lot of the same supplies, and you can create these awesome cards using the background stamp. And there we go. All right, let me bring in the cards then and show you the ones that we made. So, embossed, tone on tone, and using another color of ink on top of your neutral. So here are the 3 cards that we created today. I appreciate you guys coming by. Down in the description of this video, you're going to see a couple links. One of them is going to be to a PDF that I will have written up for you with all the measurements and all of the supplies, so you too can create cards like this using a background stamp of your very own. Hey guys, again, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my YouTube channel as well. I have a blog, it's lindaloucreates.com, so head over there for a chance to sign up for my newsletter and see other projects as well. So thanks again for joining me, and I hope you get a chance to create today. Bye now.